Welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I'm practically perfect down to the millimetre.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Looker, which came out in 1981 from writer-director Michael Crichton. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Albert Finney, who plays Larry Roberts, a Los Angeles plastic surgeon. He's been making some modifications to some models recently, and then they've been mysteriously dying. So he starts to investigate behind what's been killing them and realizes that there's a company called Digital Matrix who might be behind some nefarious schemes.
From director Michael Crichton. Now, we are all aware who Michael Crichton is thanks to Steven Spielberg and Jurassic Park. For me, that was my first introduction to who this man was. And then only when you discover that this guy is a prolific novelist whose books have been adapted almost as much as Stephen King's. We're looking at Twister, Sphere, Andromeda Strain, 13th Warrior, Congo, Rising Sun. There is quite a huge list there, but never did I realise that this man was also a film director. Mm-hmm. Looker, when it came out, was not a critical success. It bombed pretty heavily in the theatres. Of course, it came out next to Halloween 2, which just trumped Looker in every way. And since then, Looker has sort of disappeared into obscurity.
Good. I'm sorry, we were requested to do this from one of our subscribers, and thank you for requesting, because I have never had so much fun in my life. I've watched quite a few films. Never this. He also requested Runaway with Tom Selleck, which is also done by Michael Crichton, and I caught that a couple of weeks ago on TV. Just a small snippet where Tom Selleck was being chased in a car by some remote-controlled laser assassination cars. So I was just like, okay, what's going on here? Then I sit down to watch Looker, and wow. I mean, just the opening. It's like an advertisement.
Put a little behind your ear. A drop behind the knees would please, and dab a bit between your toe.
My toe?
You never know. Now I wonder who that could be. Ravish. It fulfills your deepest desires.
Well, I mean, that introduction really does just set you up for the rest of the film. Michael Crichton has been known to be a skeptic of technology and a skeptic of what's going to happen in the future. And this film pretty much emphasizes all of those fears that he has about what the human race is going to be like. He tackles issues of plastic surgery, misleading advertisements, and the corruption that could ensue should the wrong hands get hold of digital computer technology and then incorporate it all together.
Yeah. And invisibility guns.
Oh yeah, and then there's ray guns, or mind control guns, or
hypnotic pulse guns.
That's the one.
Before I get too far into it, I want to bring up the main star, Albert Finney. He is an amazing actor. I remember the first time I watched him, I saw him in Lazarus on Channel 4, where he played a decapitated head. It was actually a second part of another TV series that he'd been doing. And that's always stuck with me, the fact that I managed to sit through at such a young age a TV show which just incorporated a guy's decapitated head going through his memories, which was, pretty good sci-fi. He's gone on to do other things like Miller's Crossing, Big Fish, and he was recently the butler in Skyfall. So this guy's got a vast career.
He is a workhorse. I think he starred in like 3 to 4 films a year. Literally, as soon as he finished one project, he'd have a weekend off and he was back working the very next week.
Yeah, and he just, especially in this film, he manages to hold it together. I would have probably, if it wasn't for Albert Finney, I'd have probably been in a different attitude while doing this review. But he plays the plastic surgeon, and you've got these models coming up to him saying, well, my nose is like 30 millimeters off to the right too much. Down to the precise angle of how much surgery they need to become perfect. And so he does it.
That opening sequence where she sat there explaining to him that, for me, is just... as soon as I think of this film now, it's that moment. It's that perfect introduction to this woman who looks beautiful. She looks like she's just stepped off of a Playboy cover magazine.
An 80s Playboy cover magazine.
An 80s one. I like the 80s. And she's like, I've got all these things wrong with me.
I have lots of defects to fix. I have a list right here. My nose is 0.2 millimeters too narrow, and my cheekbones are 0.4 millimeters too high, and my chin has a little 0.1 bump here, and my areolar distance is 5 millimeters, and I have a mole here on my ribs, so I need plastic surgery.
Really?
Well, yeah, that's got me. I was just like, yeah, well, she's a model, you know, she's very vain. She's been told that she has to get herself perfect for whatever reason. And then she does, and she goes back to her apartment and she gets herself all dolled up and, you know, over the musical opening sequence. This musical opening sequence was amazing.
Emerald eyes, so cool and so inviting. Hide the side, she never shows. She's a looker, that's what they say. She's got it all, yeah, she's got it made. She's a looker with a beautiful face.
And then she's in her underwear and she's walking up to the door because somebody's rang the doorbell and there's a flash. And then she walks back into her apartment and she realizes her dog's been locked in the wardrobe. And then there's another flash. And then she's walked out onto the balcony and there's another flash. And she tangles herself up into a curtain and falls over the balcony.
What the hell did that? I was at the first, I mean, I had no information going into this film, and I was like, is it aliens? Is it a poltergeist? Is it the Invisible Man? What the hell's going on?
Yeah, try not to laugh. You know, we got to get back to the seriousness. This is Michael Crichton novel, and you know, we go back to Albert Finney, and it turns out that the last 4 models he's worked on have all mysteriously died. So we get a Lieutenant Masters, played by Dorian Hayward from Full Metal Jacket, questioning them. You know, we found evidence of you at this girl's apartment. And you're like, you know, I saw that mustache man. Oh, that mustache man was a bit out of place, wasn't he?
Isn't he an American football player?
The fact that he's just called Mustache Man for like the whole entire film, and that's it. His mustache is just as evil as he is.
I got really confused for the first 40 minutes of this film because there's like 7 girls. There's Cindy, Lucy, Lisa,
Tina.
Mindy, and they're all blonde, and they all look generically the same. And so when one girl was coming into the surgery, and one girl was on a shoot, and one girl was in her balcony, I was like, is it the same girl? Is that the other girl? Which girl? Who's dead?
It's the fact that the detective tells Albert Finney, he's just like, oh yeah, these 4 girls that you've worked on, you know, 3 have mysteriously died at home, and 1 was in a horrific car accident. So as the film reveals later on, you realise what's been causing these deaths. But it's like the first one was a car accident, and they were like, ooh, that's too destructive. That's just wiped out like 30 other people. We might as well just kill them at home. It's safer that way.
Yeah, we'll just lob them outside balconies, yeah.
So Albert Finney obviously meets up with another girl who wants some work done, and he starts just to follow her around. And it kind of weirdly starts to go like Halloween 3, where
Very
it comes
much.
up, it says like Friday, you know, and then you follow a bunch of sequences, and then it comes up and it's like Saturday, and you follow another bunch of sequences, Sunday, you know, and like we were talking about this before, it's a lot like Halloween 3, where you have a doctor, you know, you have a girl, you have them trying to bring down some weird corporation, which
you don't really know what they're up to.
hypnotizing people through their TVs. It's weirdly follows that kind of same line. But Albert Finney meets this girl and is just like, okay, I'm going to follow you around because I'm under investigation and I want to find out what's actually happening.
Well, I clocked it because, I mean, at 42 minutes is when the revelation of what really is going on happens to you. And as an audience member, you find out in the film.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, so it was this sinister company all along, because they play dumb. He's at a black tie fundraiser, and they're like, coincidence. Must be a coincidence. And I'm like, how? How can it be a coincidence that 3 of your models, or 4 of them, have just died over the last few days?
Yeah.
Well, we don't even have any records of them anymore.
Must be a coincidence.
Well, that's what it sounds like to me. Coincidence.
Funny
Sure,
that.
they just went missing.
And so I'm like, okay, so, they set him up
Yeah.
for these murders. They're
Yeah.
like, they manage somehow to get a button from his jacket to leave at the crime scene. They leave his pen somewhere else. And so you're like, okay, so this is sort of like a murder mystery, whodunit.
Yeah.
They're setting him up. He's going to have to try and find out what this digital matrix is all about. And I've got to say, Michael Crichton, I think he's from the future. Because
Yeah.
this film actually beat Disney with their release of Tron in terms of the sort of first digital people animations.
Yeah.
Which they do fairly well in this film. But it's also the fact that you find out that this company is using CGI, basically,
Yeah.
to make digital advertisements, to
Yeah.
make films, whatever they would go on to from there. And so, what I like about this film is what caught me off guard was how far thinking it was.
Yeah.
Only thing is that the execution is really quite sloppy.
Talking about execution, Albert Finney goes to an apartment where a model is living to check up on her, and the mustache guy has turned up with his ray gun and hypnotized her, and she goes flying off of her balcony. And I have seen some bumps in my time, but this one takes the cake.
That looked like it hurt.
Let's see that again.
Please.
Oh!
Man, her legs were up behind her ears.
I shit you not, I didn't mean to, but I paused it and I could see what she had for breakfast. It was crazy. And this is it. I tried to really get behind the whole tense suspenseness, but this film just had me in stitches. I was trying not to laugh, but the fact that it was being executed that way, I was just pissing myself laughing. The fact that they realized that this company have developed this computer technology and at the same time developed, I don't know, the side effect, which is a gun that hypnotizes people and gives you 15 seconds of invisibility. It's like the Men in Black's neuralizer.
Pretty much, yeah.
This is unlike any gun ever made before. It works with light. It puts you in a hypnotic trance so that you lose all sense of time. That's why they were able to do what they did to me and also the girls.
This film is filled with plot holes. It's filled with ideas that have come from nowhere or go nowhere.
Right.
Like this company that the gist is we're gonna mind control people through our advertising.
Yeah, to buy our shit.
Yet we're also going to make these mind neuralizing guns. And we're also going to go and kill off our models that we've used to create these digital imprints.
Yeah, that's what
Why?
That's what I couldn't get either. It's the fact, right, okay, we're hypnotizing everybody to buy our shit. Okay, that makes sense. But now we've got this neuralizing gun, so if nobody wants to work for us, we're going to kill them and make it look accidental.
And then set somebody up for it.
And then set somebody up for it. Right, okay, so we're going to test it on the models that we've already imprinted. And set up the doctor who shouldn't investigate what's going on.
Coincidence.
Didn't you think this through? Didn't you realise that he was gonna get pissed off? How did you not plan for this? It ultimately builds up to Albert Finney and his girlfriend. They start building a relationship, Cindy.
I like the fact that he always says, I don't date my patients, and yet there's an obvious sort of chemistry happening between them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I like his sort of professionalism
Yeah,
to being able to say no to this model.
Coffee and eggs in the morning. I get up at 6:30.
6:30? Nobody gets up at 6:30.
Sleep well.
Where are you going? Larry?
But the fact that, you know, he starts to hang out with her so that he can investigate this company. They go to the company. He steals a key card while Cindy is being scanned, which I thought was quite a cool little bit. I mean, she gets led to this giant, well, it looked like a crusher. I thought, you know, she was being led to this machine by this really weird guy. And then he tells her to stand on the circle, so she stands on it, and then it takes her down inside.
Oh, wait. She strips first.
Oh, yeah. She strips first. You know, this film has quite a bit of boobs in.
I hope you're satisfied.
Remember to hold the neck erect
Perverts.
without tension.
Well, yeah.
And she goes down and she gets scanned by the computer. And I thought that was a cool little bit. You know, this is 1981. They're showing the effects of what they can do. And like you said, it's kind of future telling because that's what they do now. You know, it's no different to sticking some tennis balls on her and putting her in a green suit. You pretty much get the same thing. But Albert Finney is watching her get scanned. And he's talking to Jennifer, who is part of the corporation. And he happens to see this key card on the table. And so he steals it. And Jennifer notices. She notices and goes and tells her boss. The doctor that we're trying to set up for these murders. Yeah, he's stolen a key card.
Took it.
Now, why would Dr. Roberts take a security card? Well, we don't have anything to hide, do we?
I think we should search his house with a looker device.
I don't want Dr. Roberts upset.
We took his file, his pen, and his button without anybody knowing.
All right, but be careful.
You're not going to send the mustache guy to go kill him or something?
Oh, no, they are. And then we're going to have one of the most drawn-out confrontations in the entire film.
The fight sequence was amazing.
Oh, God. And the fight sequence was just these cut shots of, you know, Albert Finney flinging himself around this laboratory sort of tech building. And you're just constantly getting flashed in the face with this really low-budget effect.
Oh, yeah, he's just getting flashed. He's getting blinded. He's standing there completely stunned for a couple of seconds. And then all of a sudden, you get like the camera's following him like Evil Dead style as he flies through a window. And then he manages to block the shot so he's not blinded, takes the gun from the mustache guy, blinds him, and kicks him in the balls.
That's how you put a guy down.
I was sat there just like, kick him again.
Yeah.
I would have flashed him again and kicked him one more time. Flashed him one third time and just...
I would have flashed him until he had severe brain damage because, you know, if you don't finish this guy, he's going to come back after you, which he does.
I mean, the 8 minutes they spent on the janitor sequence, they could have just put on ball kicking.
I'm glad you brought this sequence up because I was going to list this as my favourite scene in the film. Maybe not my favourite, but most memorable was because when I started to check the time to see how long that clip actually was, and when they're in the facility and then all of a sudden, you know, this robot of some making comes out of the wall.
The block.
And you're like, oh shit, what is this? They're just watching it. They're just watching it.
And then that extended arm comes up and you're just like, what's it going to do? It's going to kill Cindy. Oh God, it's going to plug into the wall and make some lights move, and then it's going to put its arm back, and now we're watching it empty a bin. We watch it empty a bin.
And to think people are worried that robots are going to take our jobs.
This is why God invented CGI, because the amount of money they spent on this block, moving around, plugging into something and emptying a bin, my mind was blown, because it comes out the door and they realise the room that they've been trying to get into, the card doesn't work. So they just sit on top of this janitor and watch it go into the door.
Did you just say God invented CGI?
Well, yeah, that's why God invented CGI.
The action scenes in this film, they're pretty good. Like the car chase, you know, the fight scenes, they're serviceable, but they have no climax. They have no ending. Like, you know, the fight or the action, the car chase would build up, and then it cut to another scene, or it would cut to after the action sequence. Like, there's a scene, like, I like the car chase scene where he's zapping him constantly, and I'm like, I hope he doesn't hit passers-by as they're driving. All of a sudden he gets zapped, and he wakes up and he's in the middle of his car is in the fountain. And I'm like, I would have liked to have seen the car go off the road, down the bank and into the fountain, but no. You don't get the end to these scenes, just the after.
The nuns. Don't forget the nuns. They're chasing along, and Albert Finney blinds the mustache guy. And he happens to turn and look at the road, and just in time, because there's a group of nuns, and he slams on the brakes.
These are the possibilities for a bright, glowing future for you.
And I was just like, nuns with guns. This is brilliant. There's a fight sequence of nuns and guns. And yeah, then he gets blinded, and after the blue light goes, he's in a fountain. There's water spraying there. So I'm like, well, where are the two guys chasing him? Why aren't they running up and
finishing the job?
The job. I mean, there's that whole sequence where he's hiding with Cindy, and the two guys come in with actual guns. They come in with actual machine guns and start shooting up the place. So he's hiding, and he can't use the hypnotic pulse gun because they're using a smoke machine to stop it. Okay, fine. He hides. He's hiding. He finds a scalpel. And one of the guys comes around the corner and he slices the guy's hand. And the guy's like, let's get out of here.
And they run off. They're like, we got the girl, let's run.
The hell with it, we got the girl. Come on, let's go.
The big reveal at the end, like I said, I've been building up to this film, pissing myself laughing through most of the sequences, and then they reveal the fact that yes, they are using their computer-generated imagery to hypnotize people. And well, this whole ending is just one big favorite sequence for me. I mean, my first favorite sequence was the girl flying out of the balcony. Just one more time.
Okay.
Oh, just, yeah, love that sequence. Second favorite sequence was Albert Finney freezing the guy and kicking him in the balls. And like I said, I would have liked to have seen him kick him in the balls like 3 or 4 times after that. And then this whole ending sequence, you get the backdrop of their sets. They have these remote controlled sets in like a holodeck,
a matrix room.
Yeah. And the sets get put together, and then the computer puts the computer generated actors on TV, and the people are watching them through TV and being hypnotized by them. But you've got James Coburn and Mustache Guy and Albert Finney fighting in this area, so they're turning up in the adverts. And the people watching the adverts are pissing themselves laughing. So I'm pissing myself laughing. You've got Albert Finney hiding behind a cupboard. You've got Mustache Guy, just stepping out.
You've got a couple in the bed.
Yeah, yeah. And he's next to the bed with the gun.
No.
What's the matter, honey?
Oh, these pressures. I can't sleep. I'm all upset.
Don't worry, darling. I have just the thing for a sleepless night. New gentle action snooze.
But I've tried medicines before, nothing works.
You get the mustache guy being shot in the face and killed, landing on a table, and then the computer generating kids eating their breakfast while there's a dead guy on the table. You've got the really, really long death of Jennifer.
It's got to be one of the longest deaths in film.
One of the longest drawn out death sequences I think I've ever seen. And then you have the death of James Coburn. And as he's being shot and falling down and dying, the people are watching him die in an advert for Spurt, a toothpaste. And the advertising is to spurt in your mouth.
Spurt makes any mouth fresh and alive.
New Spurt makes any mouth come alive. Get Spurt and feel that fresh, alive taste. New Spurt toothpaste. Feel fresh again. New Spurt toothpaste. A product of Reston Industries.
Well, you've brought up Spurt. That there for me was the highlight of the film. Spurt toothpaste.
Makes any mouth fresh and alive.
Just spurt in your mouth. Keep it clean by spurting in your mouth.
Yeah, the Spurt toothpaste and the janitor robot.
Oh, yeah.
That for me are the two of my favourite scenes in the film.
I recommend this film with caution. If you're a fan of Michael Crichton novels and you've seen a lot of his films, a lot of the ones that we've listed off and things like that, and you've never seen Looker, then yeah, get it, watch it. It is very 80s. The major strength of this film is Albert Finney. He is just absolutely class in pretty much anything that he does, and so he does keep this whole film together. The sci-fi elements, they're good for the time. Don't get me wrong, they're good for the time, but you can kind of see why this film has fallen into obscurity. It is just funny as fuck. Basically, the whole ending sequence. If you're going to stay for anything, stay for the ending. You will not believe your eyes, and you'll probably want somebody to neuralize you after.
I also just reservedly recommend Looker. It does get boring at points in the film. It does feel quite dragged out. It's full of plot holes that go nowhere. The techno music or the synthesized music really got on my nerves, especially in long drawn out sequences where it would just keep repeating itself. And then of course there's the Looker theme song, which, I like the 80s, so it kind of gets a pass.
Yeah.
The film is really well acted. It's really well shot. I think the film looks slick in its cinematography, sort of cut, the color, the mise-en-scene, everything sort of works. The editing, not so much. Really could have, been tightened. Of course, Michael Crichton's sort of insight into the future as to what's going to happen, where one of the characters explains that all of this plastic surgery, it's just a Hollywood fad, in which case it isn't, because almost every Hollywood actor has had plastic surgery of some kind. And so, I like his commentary on where things were going back in the early 80s. I think it's a very interesting film because it was ahead of its time. It just wasn't executed perfectly enough to the point where it becomes ridiculous to the point of becoming comedy. And like I said, the film has gone from being an 18 or an R-rated movie to a PG-rated film now. So, like Iain said, if you are a fan of Michael Crichton, if you want to see some of his work that has perhaps been forgotten or is, perhaps criminally underlooked, check out Looker. You're going to laugh and perhaps have a good time. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
She's a looker.